Welcome to Batara Immigration Live. Your host is immigration attorney Carlos Batara. Immigration Live has been designed to provide you and your family with insights, tips, and advice for your journey to immigration success, permanent residency, and citizenship. Every week, Immigration Live will bring you special guests, all with unique insights about immigration issues. There's no fluff here, just good old-fashioned get-together and chats, live to your desktop computer or mobile phone. This week's guest is Deborah Sherman De Santos, the founder of Starving for Justice and American Women Victimized by ICE, two Facebook groups dedicated to fighting for authentic immigration reform. She'll share her views on why she became involved in the immigrant rights movement, what her experiences have been working with refugees and asylum, how women are crucial to making immigration reform happen, and more. And now for your host.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second session of Immigration Live here at Facebook. Before beginning, I'd like to thank a few people here. I'd like to first give thanks to Deborah for appearing on the show. Knowing that Deborah's the guest today, I sort of came up with a slogan, and I'm sort of suspecting what she's going to say. And the slogan would be, ICE is not nice. I'd like to thank James Chapman, my engineering guru. You can find him at www.123live.com. Kim Lamb, who is my virtual assistant, graphic artist, and the Immigration Live show manager. You can find her at integrityprojectmanagement.com. I'd like to thank everyone appearing here. I wanted to note some ground rules that we hadn't set last time. You can ask questions and you can send comments. You list those questions underneath. There should be a box underneath where you're watching this video. You can send us questions if you want to ask Deborah questions, and I prefer that you ask her rather than me. Just click right there and send your questions to her. I'm just kidding. I'll answer questions too. Also, if you have not joined us, feel free to join us at www.bataraimmigrationlive.com. That's where you register and you'll sort of get updates on future programs and all that. For today, we have a fairly extensive list of guests. There's Roseanne, Chris, Michelle, Maria. I'd like to thank all of you. Chewy, Stephen, Bob Drews, who will be our guest next week. Bob, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Rocio, my cousin Bobby. Hi, Bobby. How are you doing? Chastity, who was with us 2 weeks ago and was very brave in coming forward. My wife, Angie, is watching. David Gonzalez, Norma, Ellen, Kimberly, Lisa, Jasenia, Simo, Trina, Lisa. And I'd like to thank all of you for coming. There may be more that are here, but those are the only ones I see right now as having clicked in. I'll be adding people as I see them. Anyway, Deborah, let's start with you. Now, you're what we call an immigration advocate activist now, but before that, what experiences you have that might have prepared you for this quite special role you have?
Wow. My experience is really this kind of thing. I didn't have anything to prepare me for this. Nobody has anything to prepare them for this. Maybe if you've lived in another country that's where the laws are real flexible, and certain legal people have, law enforcement can bend them whichever way they want, then you might be prepared for this, but I wasn't. I had done some activism during the 60s. I was involved with the civil rights movement. I went down to Georgia and stayed with a black family there. I did a lot of things for animal rescue, things like that. I've always been involved with things. But basically, I'm a housewife. I'm a grandmother. I live in northern New Hampshire. I garden. I raise kids. There was nothing. I've been flying by the seat of my pants ever since this started. I had no preparation for this.
Well, how did you get involved in immigration issues?
Okay, well, okay, that one's easy. I have a friend up here. He's from Lithuania. His name is Audrius. And I knew him and his wife and his kids, and he was picked up by ICE. Uh, it was a rough situation. He and his wife had told me a while back that he was here illegally, that he did not have documents. And about a year or so before he was picked up, I had gone over to visit them, and the mood was really glum. They were upset. They were really upset, and I asked them what had happened, and they were talking about Audrice's father and how he had landed under a bus. And I already knew a few things that were going on with Lithuania, and I knew Audrice and his father were instrumental in throwing the Soviets out. I knew they were very active in helping the U.S., helping convince Lithuania to send troops to back up our guys. I knew a lot of the backstory, so immediately when I heard this, I was like, he fell under a bus or was he pushed? And that's where both of them sat there like, yeah. Anyway, word is, Audrice better not ever go back.
So
I knew it was...
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so I took, when I heard that he'd been picked up, I found out he'd been picked up, and I was there at the police station when they picked him up. It was the day before Thanksgiving. I said I would help him. I thought maybe we were looking at what? I mean, we talked to some lawyers and stuff. It looked like we're looking at 6 months, maybe. And he would be either deported and probably dead if he was, or he'd be okay. That's what I thought. We had the police department writing letters for him. We had all kinds of citizens writing letters for him. Everybody was banding together. There was every reason for him to stay. What could go wrong? And now, well, it's over 5 years. 5 years later, he was in detention for 3.5 years. A lot went wrong. And as I started finding out what was going on, I'd go visit him, and I'd meet all these citizens visiting their partners, visiting their father, their husband, their loved one of some. And I started talking to them. I mean, you have to wait for an hour or so. What are you going to do? You talk to people. I started talking to them, and I started finding out what was going on. And it's not, none of what we were being told was true. None of it. So I got involved.
Now, your friend, your neighbor, that was an asylum case, correct?
It was, well, if he had applied within the first year, it would have been asylum, but because he didn't, what it was he was given deferral of removal under the Convention Against Torture, because it was determined by the immigration judge. Actually, this happened twice. The immigration judge ruled this way twice, that if he was sent back, it was very likely that he would be tortured. And considering what was involved, it would probably cost him his life, and probably a few other people too.
Now, because of that involvement, you learned quite a bit about, or maybe you knew beforehand, but you dug into the immigration laws of this country as they affect Eastern Europeans. Would you share your opinions on what you thought about last year, 2013, and the bombing at the Boston Marathon, how you reacted to that situation, how your neighbors reacted, and what you think is going on, what really happened there?
Audrice was down helping a friend, a woman whose husband had died, and she has a dog breeding business. He did, and he was trying to help her out. And I called him when it happened, because he and I had worked so hard to alert people to the danger that was. When I saw that, I called him up and I told him what was going on. I'm like, turn on the television, buddy. And as soon as I saw it, I'm like, Chechens. We knew. This is an area that I get really upset about, because I feel like if I'd pushed harder, if I'd said something, if I'd just been more stubborn, louder, anything, maybe somebody would have heard. But instead, what we got was briefs from the assistant chief counsel, that's like the prosecutor, right? From Department of Homeland Security to the Board of Immigration Appeals, trying to still get him deported after he had relief from deportation, saying that these Chechens that he knows a great deal about, because he caught them secretly training in Eastern Europe, and this had all come up. All this information was available, and the Department of Homeland Security, in the brief, they said they're not terrorists. They're guerrillas on a quest for liberty. These are not people who are dangerous. And yeah, they were dangerous, and the information was there, and it should have been known. It could have been known. But instead, they were too busy trying to deport Aldris, and they made like they were good guys. The wolves of Islam are not good guys. They're shooting our guys in Afghanistan. They were guarding Osama bin Laden. I started doing some tracking on these guys. When this started coming up, I'm like, wait a minute, what? This is ridiculous. I started tracking the people that I had names of. And one of these Chechens, our guys in Afghanistan, killed. He was part of Osama bin Laden's Black Guard. These are not good people. And this, if I'd said something more, I don't know.
Now you live in the New England area, correct?
Yeah.
You have a shared border with Canada?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
when I was going to school on the East Coast, that border was unguarded. I mean, we just went in and out, Canada, U.S., no problem. What's it like today?
It's worse. There's definitely, you have to go through a checkpoint and everything. But we've got towns. There's one town in Vermont that the border goes right through the town. If you go into the library on one side, you're in New Hampshire in the USA, and if you go out the other door, you're in Canada. So basically, they've got like markers. That's it. People go back and forth. They check at the station there. You do have to check now. You have to have a passport now, but it's not a big deal.
So it's nothing like what we experience here in the Southwest?
Nothing like it.
Well, what do you think about the way we handle our borders over here?
I think you need more people from New Hampshire, because we would never stand for it.
I'm sure Bob Drews is going to address that pretty heavily next week. But what's your opinion based on your reading?
Yeah, he will have fun with that. But yeah, up here we did have one guy in Vermont I was reading about, and I thought it was hilarious. He lives in that town, and he's an official, and he went over into Canada to get his pizza, and they gave him a hard time when he came back. You should have checked in. Well, they've been doing it for ages. So he wanted the ID and everything, and this guy, I think his name was Buzzy. He's like, well, hold my pizza, and the guy wouldn't hold his pizza. Up here, we're used to our law enforcement. Our law enforcement are our friends. Everybody, we all get along. So Buzzy goes home, he puts his pizza down, and he's like, I don't think I like this. You know, this isn't right. So he goes back over to Canada and comes back in. Well, this time they really give him heck. So he goes back home and he's like, I really don't like this. He went back to Canada again and came back in and got himself arrested on purpose because he's like, no, this is not right. You don't treat people like this. This is the way we are up here. And yes, New Hampshire and Vermont, and we kind of have a reputation. It's deserved. And, you know, I don't think they dare pull that up here. I really don't. It would. This is New England. We're Yankees. We can go to the local graveyard and visit our ancestors. I can go to Bethlehem, New Hampshire, and at the Rocks Estate there are stone walls that my grandfather built to put himself through medical school. We take the U.S., the heritage of the U.S., the vision of the U.S., we kind of take it personally.
Now, what's your ethnic background? Where are your family roots from?
Me? I'm mostly Scottish. My mom was Scottish. Pools, Mathesons. My father was half English. His mother was Nellie Dunham. She traced straight back to Deacon John Dunham, who came over on the second or third sailing, nobody's sure, of the Mayflower. And my dad's dad was Portuguese, Joseph De Santos. His family came in like the 1800s, but all the rest of them came in the 1600s.
Now,
we're an old New England family.
Now, you had mentioned at the outset of the show that you were involved the civil rights in the 60s, you know,
yeah.
flower child, hippie, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So how did your family react to that?
Well, my mom was a Quaker. So actually, at one point, when I went down to Georgia with my friend, I had a friend up here. She was up here at the school I went to. She was on what they called back then the ABC program, a Better Chance program. She's a black girl, you know, got a special opportunity to come up to go to a private school, you know, da-da-da. And so she and I wanted to go down, stay with her family. This was right after the civil rights workers had been found dead in Mississippi. So I told my parents, and they were like, no, 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 you could be killed. This is too dangerous. So I was young, and I pointed out to them, you always taught me that my personal integrity was more important than my life. That doing the right thing is more important than my life. So now you're telling me because I could be killed, you know this is the right thing to do. And they knew I had them over a barrel, and they reluctantly agreed. They were not happy about it. That trip to Georgia, it was scary at times. And my friend that I was with, Janice is one of the most amazing people ever. She's like a sister to me now. Her family is some of the bravest people I've ever known. Absolutely. They had me in that house with their children, teenage boys even. This was a time when you did not do that. You just absolutely, they were so courageous. A lot of people did some incredibly courageous things back then. I was a teenager. I didn't know any better. I at the time did not know how much danger all of us were in.
When you said scary, what did you mean by when you used that word right now? You said it was scary at times. What did you mean when you said that?
Well, even before we got to Georgia, we took the bus down, and we got in the bus station in Boston. It was a black girl and a white girl together. This guy started following us and yelling at us. You know, I mean, we got threatened. When we got down there, now the Civil Rights Act had been passed by that point. But when we got down there, we went to an ice cream place, and we were going to get some ice cream. Black girl and white girl together, they weren't going to serve us. The manager had to come out to service. When I would be with her family and we'd walk down the street, and this is the 60s, so a lot of places didn't have air conditioning, a lot of stores didn't have air conditioning. They'd have their doors open, and people would be doing business inside, and they'd see us pass, a white girl with a black family, and everything would stop. They'd stop talking, and they'd come out on the sidewalk and watch us.
Now, do you think all these years later, America has improved in its racial relations?
Well, I thought it had. I have a mixed status family. I remember when that wouldn't be legal. I'd be arrested for being, in some places, for being married to the man I'm married to. So in some ways it has, but what I've seen now, since I first got involved, what I have seen now, it seems like we're going backwards.
Now, Deborah, to you, now, is it just a black and white issue, or is it an issue of colors of the rainbow not getting along with other colors of the rainbow?
Yeah, I think it's more like colors of the rainbow. It's not just because there's a lot of black people who are being pitted against brown people. It's all over.
So,
and don't even.
So if immigration reform happens, and there are more immigrants from different countries with different skin colors, how is that going to affect America?
Are we talking about real immigration reform?
Yes. I mean, there's no other kind of immigration reform. To me, the other, let's say it really happens, and people are allowed, we fix the system. And so we have a lot of colors of the rainbow that are entering America. Okay, we already have problems with colors of the rainbow not getting along. So how is that going to affect America in the future?
Wow, I personally, maybe I'm too much of an optimist. Actually, nobody's ever accused me of being an optimist. But anyway, I think it would be an improvement, personally. Because I think eventually most Americans, and I can speak to this with a great deal of knowledge, because anybody I get my hands on, I tell them about what I'm seeing and what I've actually found in the detention centers, who is actually being deported, what's really going on. Every person I've spoken with has been horrified. I live in northern New Hampshire. We are a hardcore conservative area. Some of my buddies, borderline militia. But right down to a man, every single person, none of them agree with what is being done. The people of this country are decent people. And I think as opportunities present themselves and they get to know people, a lot of this could actually be scrubbed away. But there are people who are taking advantage of the divisiveness. There are people, well, we got the partisan politics, it's the Republicans, it's the Democrats, da, da, da. There are people who are taking advantage of it. I think the more people we bring in, the more immigrants we bring in, the more people understand each other, the more people get jobs from businesses that have been started. I think it's going to improve things.
That part, I understand that part, but what I'm talking about is more the interpersonal relations. If we don't have them now, how are we going to have them when there's bigger groups, more people in each group? What's going to be the magic wand?
Yeah, we didn't have them for black people back at the... You know what? I was raised in an area where I'd never even seen a black person when I was a kid. Except Nat King Cole on TV. Okay? We didn't have them. Everybody was segregated. But, you start getting people together, and guess what? They find out that they actually like each other. People up here... Yeah, go ahead.
Now, your husband was or is an elected official?
He was town administrator. Well, before that, he was, we don't have mayors. We have like a select board. and he was one of the elected select board, and then he was appointed town administrator. He was town administrator for 5 years.
Now,
So,
I know you're critical of the election process. I know that. Do you give your area an exemption?
you know what? Our areas, we're pretty cussed. You know, our area is pretty good because we actually know people. I mean, we recently lost our oh, what did you call him? The representative for the governor's office, governor's council. Guy named Ray Burton, awesome guy. We all knew him, and he took care. I mean, he was so involved. Our people are involved, and we don't tend to. Up here in northern New Hampshire, we don't tend to go with this Democrat, Republican. It's like, who's doing a good job, and don't feed me a line.
Well, you're up there with that. You're up there in those neck of the woods with some guy named Bernie Sanders. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, he's over in Vermont.
Yeah, good old Bernie. You know my feeling.
Yeah,
Run, Bernie, run.
yeah.
Now, you're and for all of you listening out there, this is for you. Run, Bernie, run. Okay, now you know my political views.
I got a friend who knows him, who she has delivered the message. So.
Yeah, go third party, go independent. That's my political spiel of the day. Okay, so okay, it's out there, but people know I feel that way anyway. Now,
yeah, we get into politics though.
Now, there are some listeners I know who are attuned to immigration issues in this country, but they're not what you would call activists or advocates.
Yeah.
Give me 3 pointers for them. How to get involved, what they should look for, to join a group, go on their own. I mean, to join your organizations. Give me 3 pointers for them.
Okay, well, our organization, well, first of all, educate yourself. Start paying attention. Read between the lines. First things first, Fox News and MSNBC are telling us the exact same thing. That this is all about, illegal aliens coming across the border or whatever. When Fox News and MSNBC are both agreeing with each other, that's a red flag. Just recognize that. Just know that. And start to educate yourself as to what is really going on. Who are we really talking about? That's number one. If you want to get involved in groups, Starving for Justice is, that's a good group. They're good people. I came up with that after doing a fast. I did a 10-day fast in solidarity for Fast for Our Families. That started January 2010. They had the Fast for Our Families and the Trail of Dreams, and I did a 10-day fast. And so after that, I was like, Starving for Justice kept running in my head, and then Robin, who helped me put that together, I threw it out, and she's like, you need to do that. You need to do that. And she jumped right in, and a bunch of people, I didn't intend it to be a group, but a bunch of people jumped in, and it's turned into a fantastic thing. So you can go there on Facebook. And then also for people, because I found so many citizens whose partners were being taken away. So many incredible, beautiful people like Nora N.P. Nora's a double lung transplant survivor, and they're trying to deport her partner away, her husband. These beautiful people. So I started American Women Victimized by ICE on one night. I was frustrated, but both of them very open groups. Join that. Okay. Past that, you need to start letting your politicians know that there are things in this world that are greater than partisan politics. There are things in this world, like the vision that is the United States of America, liberty and justice for all, that is greater than any Democrat, any Republican, we together as a people, like I'm telling you, most Americans are on the same page on what's important. And human rights is one of those things that's important. Citizens' right to have their families is one of those things that's important. Respecting veterans. I tell people about the deported veterans. Whoa. To Americans, you don't do that. You don't tear up families. You don't deport veterans. You don't violate these things. And it's not about Democrat, it's not about Republican. It's about American ideals, liberty and justice for all. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We've got it written so many places. How hard can this be? So, you know, we need to come together.
Sorry about that. Immigration reform, the real variety. If we could only pass one part of it, what would you pass?
Families.
What about
families that come? Families that come first. I am very much. People assume because I'm on this, you know, activism and stuff. They assume that I'm a Democrat and that I'm a liberal. They could not be. Oh no. I'm a fairly conservative person on that end. Families, to me, are the backbone of this country. If we don't take care of our families, what do we have left? What? And individual rights. My right to associate with, live with, love who I choose. Most Americans think that they have that right. It wasn't until my body got picked up and I started talking to all these people waiting to visit their partners, their family members in detention, that I found out that American citizens do not have a right to their family. That is wrong beyond all words. That has to be number one. Has to be number one. If that isn't there, if citizens don't have a right to free association, to their own families, then we're not even citizens anymore.
Okay, now we're nearing wrap up here, so I wanted to ask you another question. I mean, I'm an attorney, so I always am interested in learning about attorney-client relations. So what's the one thing, I mean, I hear a lot of bad things about lawyers. What's the one thing that you would tell clients? Okay, what's the one thing that you would tell clients to do or to look out for or to improve their attorney-client relationships in immigration cases?
Check, really check. When you go for an immigration attorney, if he's willing to take on your case without even knowing what it is yet, that's a red flag. If he will promise you all kinds of things that he can't or she can't, you know, it's like, oh yeah, da-da-da-da, we'll do this. That's a red flag. If he or she advises you to lie, and actually files papers that he knows and everybody knows is not true, that's a big red flag. I know you're desperate. I know you're desperate. I've been there. But if you get the wrong attorney, one, with some people I know, the attorney's taken off with their money and done nothing. In other cases, and I experienced some of this, the attorney is like cutting deals with ICE. And it's a jungle. You know, it's jungle out there. Well, in this case, it really is. Because immigration is an easy place for the scam artist attorneys to get in. They mess up. What happens? Their client's deported. It's not like he can really come back and do anything about it, or she wants, you know, once in a while it's women too. Be careful and don't just, if they promise you the world or they're not worried about your case, you know, oh yeah, they'll take it, not a problem. Oh, be careful. Please be careful. You can lose everything.
with that, Deborah, I think we've reached the end of today's show. But I think you're just warming up, so of course, we'll have to bring you back for some more.
Oh.
It's like one of your Facebook. It's like one of your Facebook messages. It's like, how many more paragraphs I have to read here? No, I'm kidding. That's good, actually. Anyway, Deborah, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. Oh, and I do want to encourage people. We do have a website, a blog site, immigrationvoices.com, and Deborah's a co-author on it. Chastity, who was with us last week, is a co-author on it. Bob Drews is a co-author, and we're looking for more folks. I mean, basically, they're putting together, different news and their views on it, and in a lot of ways, this show is an outgrowth of that. It's an attempt to get voices out into the internet. I recently wrote a blog post on propaganda called the Anti-Immigrant Propaganda War, which you can find on my law website. And I wrote that in response to Deborah, in a way, because she had sort of minimized my comments on Facebook about propaganda. And I said, whoa. And after I responded, she came back and said, yeah, I think you're right. But I was then inspired to say, well, no. There are some ugly things on the internet. And there are some ugly pictures in that article. And it's someone that's one of my friends. Okay? And so it comes in my stream, and I just had to write an article. I didn't direct it at my so-called friend, but I want them to know that those pictures are inappropriate when you're talking about immigrants. I absolutely believe that we're in a battle for the hearts and souls of the American public, and this show is part of that battle. I know.
Well, Carlos, we're in a battle for the very heart and soul of this country right now. Right. This is what we're about. This is the vision of the country. We lose this. If we lose this, it's not just us that loses, because when I was helping Odris, and when we finally found his father and the men who had served with him getting the Soviets out, his father, he was the head of the New Union Party in Lithuania, and I learned so much from these people. And when they stood against the Soviet tanks were coming down their capital city to take parliament, and they stood against those Soviet tanks. You know what kept them going? Their vision of what could be for their country, that in their eyes the United States is. We are not just that vision that we have, that we stand for, that we're supposed to stand for. It's not just for us. It's for the whole world. They pay attention. We lose that, I don't even want to think what would happen.
And I agree with you on that, but let me comment on the word lose for a moment. We can lose the next election, and I personally believe there are signs that the move toward immigration is swinging in a direction that I don't like again. It's a pendulum. We're swinging back and forth because we are battling, in my mind, for the souls and minds of America. So we could lose this battle. We could lose the next battle 4 years from now. That doesn't mean we lost the war, and I want to say that to my viewers. You can lose a political election, but you don't lose the battle. You don't lose the battle until you quit. And so, we can lose an election. Obama can lose. The Democrats can lose. Your favorite politician can lose. That doesn't mean we lost the war. And I want to mention that because you say lose, and some people here lose. Oh, and they give up. No. That's the way. Eventually, immigration reform will have its day. Eventually, diversity will have its day.
It happened with civil rights. It happened with civil rights. We are moving forward. And, in the long run, there are good people out there. Most Americans are good people. I'm just saying, if we lose, everybody loses. I have no intention that we're going to, and I don't believe we will.
Yeah, and I fully agree with you. We're a great country, and there's a lot of wonderful people out there. And with that, I think it's time to wrap up. I do want to say thank you very much, Deborah. We will be having you back in a week from now. For those of you that are tuned in still, Bob Drews will be our guest. And for those of you who don't know Bob Drews, you definitely want to meet Bob Drews. He's definitely got a viewpoint all his own. You could visit Deborah. She has two different websites on Facebook. She has Starving for Justice and American Women Victimized by ICE. As I told you, the slogan for my show was, nice is not ice. So you can visit her at those places. I also want to again thank James Chapman at 123live.com and Kim Lam at integrityprojectmanagement.com. I want to thank all of you for watching, and I really hope to see you here next Wednesday when we get to talk about Bob Drews and that other border, the one on the south, where I hear a drone up there. I'll see you next week. Thank you very much.